you very much. It's such a privilege for me to be here. And I talked to Adeline. She suggested that talking about how to reinvent your career, how to reinvent your life would be something that's really would resonate with people. And I know it's a passion for me. So don't worry, even though I'm a management consultant around product development, I'm not going to lurch into product development consulting talk. But every time I have a chance to talk to a group about transformation and how that applies to your career, and women in particular, I'm always very enthusiastic. So thank you so much for having me here today, and I'm glad you came to this session. Uh-oh, that doesn't sound good. There we go. So what's our objective? You know, it's all about reinvention. And I also use the word transformation kind of interchangeably. But that's really what this conference is about, right? Being the change, how to be the change. And I think that the ability to reinvent yourself over and over again is, in my generation, it's useful. For all of you that are out there and that are in an earlier part of your career, it's absolutely critical. So really what I want to accomplish today is maybe challenge some of the views that you have on career and life management, and to really compel you with the notion that the ability to reinvent yourself is no longer optional. It's no longer nice to have. It's really a core skill set in your life to the extent you want to create a great life for yourself, and certainly in your career. And I'd argue that you can't do one without the other. But it's really critical to be successful in the world today. The other thing I want you to do is I want to inspire you to write your own story. We had this conversation at lunch about young women starting their career saying, well, you know, I want to have a family, I want to have a career. People tell me I can't do it all. And, you know, there's always going to be someone who tells you what you can't do. And you know what? There are things you can't do. But the issue is you need to decide for yourself. You need to write your own story. And don't plug in to somebody else's story. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I'll give you a couple of, I had to learn that one the hard way. That was learning for me. But to know it sooner instead of later will give you an advantage. So I want to inspire you to write your own story. And every time I talk to a group of people, you know, there's like 100 other things you could be doing right at this moment. And I really appreciate that you take your time to come talk to me or come talk with me, and I want to make sure that this is a good use of your time. So I'd like for everyone here to be able to leave with at least 2 or 3 things that you can start doing today to help you reinvent yourself in a way that's meaningful for you. So what? I mean, what is the so what on this, right? It all sounds good, but so what? Well, really what I'm talking about is career self-reliance. I named this talk Powerful Attitudes and Pragmatic Tools. So you really need to start with a powerful attitude about how you're going to be self-reliant in your career. And then I want to talk to you specifically about some tools that I've used, things that I wish that I know now that I wish I had known 20 years ago, or things that I've learned along the way that have been really, really useful to me. And so a lot of this is based on my own experience. And you know, I make mistakes along the way. And one of the skills of reinventing yourself is to be able to make a more powerful choice. But here's the situation I think we're all faced with. Career self-reliance is critical. And the world is changing so quickly. The workforce will never be the same. And it continues to change. So we're global, we're connected, and more importantly, we're fluid. And it's no longer sufficient to be able to adapt to change. To thrive professionally, you need to adapt to change, you need to be able to anticipate change, you need to be a thought leader around change, and if you're going to lead other people, most of them are scared of change. You might be scared of change yourself. That's okay, we'll talk about that. But you see the difference? It's not just about adapting. It's about how can you drive change, embrace it, and use that as your competitive advantage. So if you're able to reinvent yourself over and over again, there's going to be a lot of people who can't do it. A lot of people who don't want to do it. But I believe if you're going to thrive, it's got to be a core skill set. And if you are able to do that, you'll set yourself apart, you will increase your value, and you'll reflect who you want to be in the world. By writing your own story, you'll reflect who you want to be in the world. So reinvention is the vehicle, but I think excitement is the fuel. Do you have any questions? Let's be interactive. Questions, comments? Yeah.
Comment. I agree. Yeah.
Good.
I like the last line especially.
Great.
Excitement.
Great.
Yeah.
Let me give you one example about how fast things are changing. I was talking about this at lunch today. So my dad's 85. He lives in Missouri. And he worked for about 35 years. He retired when he was about 60. He had worked for one company his entire career. There were like 4 guys. And honest to God, they all kind of started at the same time and they all retired 35 years later within 6 months of each other. And back in the 60s and the 70s, you know, that was thought of as being rock solid, stable. That's the way you manage your career. One company, day after day, 35 years, and you can enjoy your retirement. So a generation later, I'll show you my bio slide in a second here, but a generation later, I've worked for a dozen different companies, and I've had numerous jobs. I've managed hundreds of teams around the world, and I'm just, you know, getting started, sort of. But part of the getting started is his career was 35 years long. My career is probably going to be 50 years long. My daughter, who's in college, I keep telling her, don't worry about what you want to be, because whatever your first journey is out into your career, it's probably something that doesn't even exist today. Write your own story, right? That's how much things are changing in just 2 generations. It's really incredible. So reinvention is the vehicle, excitement is the fuel. So what do I mean by that? Here's a few words. So when I say excitement, some people say passion, right? There are things I'm certainly passionate about, but what's really important, and this is how you write your own story, you figure out what you're going to do next, what you need to do next, is what are you excited about? What excites you? And it's critical because, you know, it's what gets you out of bed in the morning, and it's what inspires you. Do you ever notice like you're kind of in a dormant state, you know, you're just kind of sitting there and all of a sudden you see something or hear something or feel something that excites you, how quickly your energy shifts. It's like that, right? You didn't do anything, you just had a thought. Well, that's the kind of excitement that you want to look for and figure out how you're going to craft your reinnovation around that, because that's the energy that you need. And, you know, if you're going to have a 50-year career, you need to have something that sustains it. I heard somebody say earlier, you know, if you don't like what you're doing, then maybe you want to retire at 50. I guess Alma was talking about that in the earlier session, that you want to retire at 50. Well, if you love what you're doing and you can reinvent yourself, then you have limitless possibilities. So I'm doing management consulting now. It's a lot of fun. It's a ton of hard work. It's really busy. I wouldn't do it if my daughter was still at home because it takes too much time. I love every minute of it, and I'm not going to be doing it in 15 years. I'm going to be doing something different, maybe 10 years, right? So yeah, I'm passionate about it. I'm excited about it. I love the work. And as you reinvent yourself, you can move to a different stage based on what's going on in your life and what you want now. Make sense? So doing something that you can sustain, and it's the excitement that's going to sustain you, is critical. It's really your competitive advantage. It's really, do you understand that? It's your competitive advantage. If you do something that excites you, that you can energize quickly around, that's meaningful to you, it's how you're going to be able to differentiate yourself from other people who are just doing a job, who aren't particularly interested, or they can't get that level of excitement. It doesn't mean that there aren't other people out there doing the same kind of work that you're doing, but there's a bunch of studies that have been done that talks about, you know, we're all good at some things and we're all not so good at other things, right? I mean, you all can think in your mind about things that you're good at and things you're not so good at. Well, if you improve, if you focus on the things that you really excite you and that you're good at, what happened? This happened in the last session.
They're motion sensors, and we're not moving enough. So get up and jump around.
That wasn't like a visual.
It's their exotic.
That wasn't the visual get off the stage cue, was it? Where was I? Oh, so if you focus on improving in areas that you're good at, that you're excited about, your opportunity improvement is multifold. If there's something that you're not really good at, you can improve, but the amount by which you can improve is significantly less. I had to learn that one the hard way too. You know, because there were things like, oh, I know I can be better, I know I can be better. And I can improve a little bit, but there's other things that I can just soar on. And you have to decide how you work that into the equation when you're figuring out how to reinvent yourself and what is the kind of work that you want to be doing. And really, I think at the end, whenever that is for all of us, that when you look back over your career at what you're really proud of and what really matters, I think that you will come up with a list of things that you accomplished that you were excited about and that you were was meaningful for you. And I hope for all of you that when you do that, you see a lot of them. And that's what this process is really about today, this conversation is today, is how can you write your own story so you're focused on the things that you're excited about and that you're good at. So when you spend 50 years of your life, or however many you're going to spend in your career, you can look back and say, wow, I did a lot of things, I accomplished a lot of things that I was really excited about and really proud about. So what excites me? Transformation. I'll show you my biography here in just a minute. But I've been a student of personal transformation for 20 years. And I'm incredibly passionate about it. And the more I learn, the more excited I get about it. And the more creative ways I can figure out how to use it for myself and people around me. The other thing that I get really excited about is intellectual challenge. I work for companies. I like working on the hardest problem, shipping the most important product for the company, fixing the most goofed up organization. I really like that. Those really hard problems that some people don't want to do or don't know how to do. And what I know about myself, if I get bored, things don't go well for me. Really. And had to learn that one the hard way too. So I never, in managing my career, I never went after a job title. I went after an experience. Oh my God, we're going to ship this great product to market. Oh my gosh, this organization's a mess. I can fix this. Right? And I went after the experience. And the last one here, kindness. Now, I know this isn't a word that you hear in a room full of MBAs, right? Very often. And at first when I wrote this slide, I thought, oh, let's see, what word? I went to thesaurus.com, and I tried to find a word that was more MBA-like, and I thought, no, I can't do that. Because the fact is that this is so important to me, how I conduct myself and in the environment that I work in. I have quit jobs because it was too hostile for me to be in that environment. I've kind of eliminated people from my life who don't behave well. And I work with and I try to conduct myself in a way. And it wasn't until I went through this process that I realized how important it was for me. So my tendency is to kind of be a little embarrassed about it sometimes and try to find a better MBA word. But the truth is that it's important to me. And I deal with difficult people all the time. I mean, you have to deal with difficult people all the time, right?
Did you put that on your business card?
No, I should, but that's a great idea. That's a great idea. But for me, this is just an acknowledgement of it's part of who I am, and it's part of something that really matters. And that's what inspires me.